So, my name is Tim from Crypto News, and today I want to talk about blockchain, the social impact, and maybe take you on a bit of a journey from where we've actually come to where we are today to where we might be going. So to have a bit of an overview of the lay of the land that we've really crossed as a society globally. And something that Terry touched on just before was really nice to see that the blockchain is not just here for cryptocurrencies, but the blockchain can be used on so many things in so many areas. In your healthcare, for example, you can take the blockchain and put all your medical information on that blockchain in a way that you can access this. So it doesn't matter how many countries you live in, how much time, how often you move, you have always access to your medical records. And if you go on a holiday somewhere in Bali, you fall off your surfboard, you crack your skull, and you have to go to the hospital, they immediately can access all your data and know exactly how to treat you very, very quickly. So that's one good thing that the blockchain can also do. Another good thing, and Walmart's already implementing this, is tracking their productivity and the time and the money that it takes. So just for example, Walmart tracks all their fruit like mangoes and berries and tracks where they're coming from, how long they're traveling, how long they're in the store, when and who buys it, and how much turnover time it has altogether. So the blockchain can give you a real time and real life example of what your products are doing as well if you're in commerce. So there's a lot more to the blockchain than just cryptocurrencies, but I'm sure you already knew that. Right. So let's take a look at where we are today. If you would have told a guy in the 1920s that in less than 100 years' time, 80% of the world population will have a tiny device in their pocket called the phone, with which they can access a place that really isn't a place at all, but in a cloud called the internet. And through this place, you can send and receive letters in minutes or seconds. And then the other person can reply to you in minutes and seconds, sending letters across the globe. And if that's not fast enough, you can call the person anytime, anywhere in the world and speak to them, not only on the phone, but face to face, thanks to a tiny camera and the screen on your phone. And the old man would have said, "What are you, off your medication? Get out of here." And he said, "No, it's true. You can do way more than this. You can go on a platform called Facebook and you can share all your photos of your favorite foods globally with all your friends. You can do your banking online and you can also do your shopping online. If you want a purple sit-on lawnmower, you can go and find that on the internet, order it and get it delivered to your door. If you want organic hand cream with Amazon palm tree extract that is animal cruelty free, you can also get that online and get that sent to you. And if you want something to eat, your favorite food, you can also go online and order it there." And he said, "This is crazy." And the old man would have jumped on his horse and rode off shaking his head of what a stupid story you're telling. But of course, less than 100 years now, we're here. This is exactly where we are. Most of us hang out on the internet in a place that doesn't truly exist as a place. And most of us do that, for better or worse, 24/7. So, but it wasn't even that long ago since the internet was born. It's 36 years. My birth year, 1981, IBM created the internet, and Tim Berners-Lee in the 1990s took it to the world, introducing us to the World Wide Web. So really, it's very, very young. And because it's so still young, we face a lot of problems and lots of frontiers in that space of the internet. And one of the biggest problems is data security. Thanks to Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, we know that your data is not as safe as you might like it to be. So that's one of the challenges that we face and that we really have to get on top of before things may get out of hand. Because cyber thieves are creative and they're active. So, and this is where the blockchain can help us move away from a centralized system that we have now, as in banks, medical records, the government, your information in a central server that's very easily accessible if you're witty enough. And the blockchain, with its decentralized nature, can build that bridge into the next kind of level of our evolution. Let's take a look at where we come from, though, to see and understand that pathway that we've taken and how far we've actually come. So if we go all the way back to when we were hunters and gatherers, we had a system called the barter system. That means we would trade goods. So if my family and I was hungry, I would ask my wife for some precious gemstones that she found somewhere, and I would go and buy a goat on the market, come back home, we have the goat for dinner, and then I try to sell the goat skin to get some gemstones back because my wife's been bugging me ever since I took them. After that, the Ognisarians came in and changed the barter system for the monetary system using a simple tally stick, meaning a primitive ledger of recording what transactions have happened and what things were worth. But still, that system was quite vulnerable and quite dangerous because you had to have your valuables with you. And so either you had them at home or with you, you were subject to theft and robbery if you were unlucky. Now, in the 16th century then, the Greek introduced us to the coin system and started to create a standard value for things. Copper coins were worth what copper coins were worth, silver coins were worth what silver coins were worth, and so on and so forth. And for the first time, we had a system that didn't rely on bartering or having a vague idea, but there was a precise measure to what things were worth and how they were traded. Fun fact, the Chinese invented paper money about 800 years before Christ, using a thing called the block press. Now, did they know anything about the blockchain? I don't know, but it is maybe likely, right? So now that you had all this coin and paper money in your pocket, it wasn't really safe either, and you couldn't also store it under your pillow because still robbery and theft was a thing. So we had to create something that would keep our valuables safe and sound and easily accessible. And so the banks were created. And ever since then, banks have been holding onto your coin. So effectively that now they're the leading, economical factor when it comes to global trade. Now that in itself is a dangerous idea and maybe subject for another talk, right? But now it was easy to have your valuables safe. You could go to the bank, get the funds that you need to go to the other place and buy whatever it is that you wanted. Frank McNamara then, in the 1960s, introduced us to the first ever credit card, the Diners card, and made things a lot easier for us by not having to go to the bank anymore, but we could simply swipe the card and get the products. Credit cards, now a common thing. Some people even use it as a hobby, collecting credit cards. Now, swiping a credit card is what we do every day, and we're moving into swiping phones and watches. And this is where we are today. So we've come a long way from trading gemstones for goats to swiping watches. But the problem with this is that any transaction that you now make has to go through a third party that takes account of your purchases, of your transfers. And you don't know what is happening to your data and your information because you rely on them to safekeep it. And this is not all that safe. When we look back just a couple of years, we saw that JP Morgan got hacked, one of the world's biggest bank, and the data of 83 million people was accessed. The same year, Target was the target of hacking. And again, the financial data was hacked. In 2017, the biggest hack happened with Equifax, where a whopping 143 million people's information was accessed. Now that's 6.5 times the population of the Australian continent. That's a lot of people. And the list goes on and on and on. It goes from Apple to AOL to Citigroup to the Department of Immigration to Trump hotels. Although I think Trump didn't even have any real protection. He just downloaded the free software and told everyone it's tremendously safe, believe me. And everyone just went with it. Right? Hypothetical, of course. But let's take another hypothetical example and say your information is with the government, and while you're sitting here listening to the talks, having a good time at the expo, somebody's accessing your information and your information and your information. You don't know it because you're here. Then you jump into the cab, drive to the airport, you're trying to fly home to Bundaberg, and you swipe your card at the airport and the taxi driver says, oh, the card doesn't work. You say, oh, you try to give him $20 and you walk into the airport, you go to the check-in, you hand over your ID, and the lady on the check-in is just taking longer than it normally does, and you say, is everything okay? She says, oh, yes, I just have trouble accessing your booking, and she's pushing the little red panic button under the table, and 6 customs officers come up from the back of you, grab you by the neck, drag you in a little room with fluorescent light and no windows, and start asking a question. Who are you? What do you want? Where are you from? Are you a terrorist? And he said, no, what are you on about? I'm not a terrorist, I'm Bob from Bundaberg. And he says, you're not Bob from Bundaberg, we don't have any information from you. We don't have a birth certificate, we don't have financial records, we don't have an address, there is no super, there is no Medicare, you don't exist in our system. And he said, this is ridiculous, I was born in this country, I'm a citizen. And they say, not according to our data. And they leave the room to let you cook, and it slowly dawns on you that you're probably not going home to Bundaberg. You're spending the night at the airport jail cell, and then your next destination is Manus Island, because you've effectively become a refugee in your own country. Hypothetical, of course. But with a centralized system, possible, for sure. So relying on this system that we needed to keep our valuables safe back in the day, before we had the internet and data, now needs to change into something that is more secure and that gives you back the power to actually have access over your personal and financial data. So you are in charge and not a third party that might sell your data onwards. And this is where the blockchain comes in. Because the blockchain, other than a centralized system, is, I'm quite sure you already know, is a decentralized system, meaning it does not rely on one server to hold all the information, but it relies on a vast network of servers on a global scale, accessing one running ledger that records every data transaction that comes into the ledger in an encrypted form, and therefore becomes quite safe because there is not one point of attack, but you have a serious amount of computers that you have to get to at one point. And so it becomes near impossible to hack this blockchain. Don Tapscott, the author of Blockchain Revolution, described the blockchain like a chicken McNugget. It's a highly processed thing, and even if you were to try to turn that chicken McNugget back into a chicken, you wouldn't be able to succeed, because it's incredibly difficult to do that. And even if you could, I wouldn't recognize it as a chicken, probably neither would its mother. So it becomes very, very difficult to hack into the blockchain effectively, because if you do, and you hack into this block of data that is verified, validated, and then slot it into a chain of already existing blocks feeding on that data, it becomes immutable, meaning unchanging. And so if you were to want to hack into that block, you would have to access it on all the levels that it exists in the blockchain. You have to hack that block, and then you have to go and hack the block before that and change that data. And then you have to hack the block before that and hack in that data. And then you would have to hack into the block. I guess you get my point, right? So it becomes very, very difficult and a tedious venture to do that. And this is where the blockchain really takes it up a notch and gives you more security, because now not only you are in charge, or at least in control of your data and see what's going on, but it also becomes very, very difficult to access that data very effectively. Does that make sense? And now some of you may be new to the idea of blockchaining and cryptocurrencies, and you say, yeah, but I'm not really comfortable having my money not in my pocket, but with a place that only exists in a cloud. And to this, I kind of think, don't you have PayPal? PayPal exists in a place that doesn't really exist, and we trust it, right? Because we know it works, although it's a centralized system. Other places, and Terry touched on this just before, in the developing countries, like Kenya and Tanzania, in 2007, the crime epidemic was so high that the government said, we need to do something about this. We need something that helps people to be able to go to the grocery store, buy their groceries, and then go home without being robbed or mugged. And so Vodafone stepped up and said, hey, we have a system that relies on a cashless payment using SMS called M-Pesa. M for mobile, Pesa for money. And all you do is you go to the grocery store, you pack up your groceries, you take it to the guy, he rings it up, he says $28.50, and you punch $28.50 in your phone, you send an SMS to the grocer, you secure it with a PIN, and the payment is made, and the man is paid, and you go home and no one's robbing you. Because nobody can possibly send himself an SMS with your money because you know who you are. You just gave us the number. Right? And so the blockchain works in the same way, because everything is traceable and there is no cash involved. So robbing you becomes a pointless venture. And so the blockchain within the developing countries can help to create more safety, more security. And we know that the system works because India and Afghanistan are also now implementing the M-Pesa. So there is a lot more potential than we see now to the blockchain and to cryptocurrencies, because it can help effectively eradicate crime and theft and make things a lot safer. So let's say if you go on a holiday and you want to book a flight, you just go online and you pay the flight people peer-to-peer, straight, without a third party. And then you book your Airbnb, you book your car rental, and again you pay peer-to-peer over the internet without paying a third party any percentage of that transaction. And you can see that everything's paid on the running ledger. You jump into the plane, you go on a holiday, you go down to the beach, you've got all you need on your watch, you can access your data from your smartwatch, so there's no problem leaving your towel on the beach and go have a frolicking in the water, come back out, and then go to the coconut stand and buy a coconut and just swipe your watch and pay for the coconut. All safe through the blockchain without any exchange fees either. There is no currency exchange because you don't have to. It's cryptocurrencies. So it brings the world a lot closer together. And if you see out there, Adam, I think it is, get paid in Bitcoin, people have been paid in Bitcoin already. So it's moving into the market already using that technology. Now, moving forward from here, what is possible, we don't know. Today, and this is the place where to actually find out what is truly possible. And if we see the developments in the blockchain and where we're going, if you look at the guys from Nexus Earth, they're developing the next level of blockchain, which is a 3D blockchain with, I think it's a stream of, so it's not a block anymore, it's a stream of data that you can separate and have different people to mine into that stream. So it becomes very, very safe because now we're upping the security on the blockchain that is already safe just to protect us from maybe nanocomputing when it comes. So this is really exciting. And if we're looking to the future, we don't really know what's happening because now we are the man from the 1920s and we don't really know where the future will lead us. But looking at the last 30 years, and we'll level that onto the next 30 years, keeping in mind that compounding is a real thing. We will get better and better and better building on what we already know. I can just say that I'm truly excited to be in this place right now because this is the next frontier. We've discovered everything we wanted to discover, and now we're going into the place that we created. I didn't have a part in creating it, but that I am part of now, and so are you. And being here at this expo is the best place to be to know what is happening at that frontier. That is cryptocurrencies, that is Bitcoin, that is blockchain. And to be informed of what is truly going on, moving into the future. This is the place. These couple of years now will decide where we're going as a planet when it comes to data. So, and I'm glad to see you all here being interested and actually being a part of that frontier movement. So if you want to know more about cryptocurrencies, about Bitcoin, about blockchain, then come and see us at Crypto News Australia, just around the corner here. If you have any question, we're happy to answer any of your questions and to see what we can do to help you move along and understanding more of this very, very exciting frontier place that is crypto news, Bitcoin, and the blockchain. So thank you guys for having the patience to sit here and get some information, not from just myself, but from all the other speakers, because there was some great content here today, and I'm quite sure there will be some more content coming. And stay up to date with Crypto News Australia as well. On YouTube, we've been running interviews all weekend here with a lot of influential people in this place. So keep an eye out for us, because it'll definitely change your world. Thank you very much. Tim from Crypto News Australia.